Support for Donnybrook is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Seems fair to me.
Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it. Unacceptable by any reason.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
Thank you so much for joining us for the first edition of Donnybrook for 2026. And this is the first show in our 40th year. Can you believe it? How about that? Thanks for making it possible. Let's meet the panelists and then discuss this week's topics. Starting with the media veteran herself, Wendy Wiese. And one of our founders who was here on January 8th, 1987, Bill McClellan from the Post-Dispatch. She's Sarah Fenske, who was in kindergarten in 1987. And currently, she's on the 314 podcast, and she's also the host of, she's with St. Louis Magazine, 314 podcast. You got so many things going on. What am I saying?
St. Louis Public Radio.
St. Louis Public Radio,
Running the world.
queen of all media, and Mr. Alvin Reid from the St. Louis.
I was 5 when the show debuted, okay?
Nice try.
All right, Alvin, we're going to start with you. 10 years ago or so, we had 2 NFL teams in Missouri, and soon we'll have none. The Chiefs have decided to move across the border from Missouri into Kansas, where you went to college. I know you have some allegiances,
I do,
as you've expressed them here on the program in the past. The state of Kansas has promised to pay 60% of the new stadium complex. The complex is going to be $4 billion. So the citizens of Kansas are going to fork over about $2.4 billion for what, 10 games a year? Was it worth it, and is it a big loss for Missouri?
It is a loss for Missouri because anything you lose of stature, we should be trying to keep. I'm not here to defend Kansas's deal, but I am here to say that the legislature, governor's office, major business leaders on that side of, the Kansas City area said, let's do this. Let's bring them to Kansas and reap the benefit of them coming over here. Wyandotte County, where the stadium's going to be. Now, it's weird. Overland Park is kind of like the state of Tennessee. It's real long, and it stretches over like 2 counties. So it will be in Overland Park, but it will be in Wyandotte County. And that will bring jobs. That will bring thousands of gallons of gas that will now be purchased. It will help Wyandotte County because it will be a hub of activity. They're also going to open like their training facility and also offices. So look, I applaud Kansas. They got the job done because they wanted to get the job done. And deal or not, Missouri can look at that and say, like, you know what? We're too busy worried about stupid stuff in Missouri to make decisions like that. Now, you may not agree with it, but gosh, the team is gone because the state legislature was moving too slow, and Kehoe is worried about things like redistricting and where people go to the bathroom and all that.
It's a good thing that the Missouri taxpayers aren't building a new stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's, the old thing, sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you didn't make. And I think that we're here fine, and if Wyandotte thrives, that'll be against what most economists say, that they argue that stadiums don't really help areas that much.
Well, and the last time we had this kind of unity in the region was when we brought the Rams here to St. Louis, and we know how that worked out. So I would just tell the folks in Kansas not to get too comfortable, because you never, I know that everything's going to be fine, but they quite literally gave the Chiefs everything. Like the Chiefs are getting, just the television rights alone will make them even more gargantuanly rich than they already are, and the Kansas gets nothing from that. Gets absolutely. They are funding billionaires. I didn't understand the pearl clutching. I borrowed your phrase. The pearl clutching on the part of so many Missouri lawmakers who are. We're so sad because we've given the Chiefs our love and loyalty. I think that ship has sailed. This has nothing to do with loyalty or love. The owners are getting paid.
Okay.
Zillions of dollars.
My point is that argument is not even what I'm about. I'm about Kansas decided to do something and they did it.
But they did a dumb thing.
Okay.
This is a
All right.
terrible deal. Like, I don't
They
see
jumped off a mountain.
why we should respect them for like, oh, they pulled this off. They pulled this off by giving away $2 billion.
Okay.
And more.
I think if you got where the stadium's going to be is like where the racetrack is or where the minor league baseball plays. There's open land. It's got a place where it to be. It's something where there was nothing. And they decided, hey, whatever we get out of this, ultimately, it's not just one of those like supply side economic things. Nothing is there. Something will now be there.
I don't know. You know, Yankee Stadium's been in the Bronx forever, and there's no development around Yankee Stadium. Where do the Giants play? You know better than I do.
They're out in New Jersey. But
Is there development
No,
there?
because it's a swamp out there. I mean,
Yeah. A petrochemical swamp.
All stadiums are a bad bet, but the NFL is the worst bet because of how few home games we're talking
but
about.
Final Fours, there'll be a lot of host a Super Bowl, at least one. When you open a new stadium, you get a Super Bowl.
Well,
so
first
there
of all,
will be,
it's
rah-rah.
It's going
But,
to be,
you know,
it's going
in
to be
Missouri-
5 years. It's going to be 5 years before they have the new stadium, right?
Right.
I think
Okay.
the Kansas Cityans won because if you live in Kansas City, Missouri, you still have an NFL team in your backyard, unlike St. Louis.
They want to
and
be
you're
at
just not paying
Arrowhead.
for it.
They want it to be an Arrowhead. But
Well,
you do
that's
make
their
a good
problem.
point.
They lost.
The thing, and this is always, I've found this interesting, because you don't really cross a river or anything like that to get to like Kansas City, Kansas, when you go that direction, or to Johnson County, Kansas, that mental game that we can't get over in Missouri, but it's way over there in Illinois. People go back and forth all the time, so it ain't
Okay, Alvin.
Right.
Thank you. By the way, you're writing. He writes the sports column for the St. Louis American, as you know. And by the way, Wiley Price retired.
Wiley
45
retired,
years. We should
45
acknowledge that.
years. Hey, shout out to Wiley.
Amen.
I mean, right. I mean, what a career. And he just decided January 1, that was it. And I think that's
Good
how
for him.
that's how we should.
How many halls of fame
At
did
least
that man
at least
in?
4. I know.
Tons, yeah. Way to
Including
go,
Missouri
Wiley.
Press Association.
Way to go, Wiley.
Okay, Sarah Fenske, I want to ask you about things that happened when we were on vacation the past 2 Thursdays. One, on December 23rd, Judge Steve Omer, I think it was the 23rd, he decided to say to Sheriff Alfred Montgomery, you're not going to serve anymore. But, no, I wanted to go to you on Mark Thornhill.
No, we were going to talk sheriff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that then. Sheriff Montgomery, among other things, decided that he would enforce the law, rules that the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department usually took care of, like he went up to a deputy commissioner of the St. Louis City Jail, handcuffed her, detained her. He went to the Kaiser convenience store and he saw a former employee, Darrell Wilson, who was a lawfully licensed security guard. Montgomery had him disarmed and arrested. These are things that he couldn't do.
Yeah.
So as a result, Steve Omer, the circuit judge who was in charge of this case, said, guess what? You're out of here. Now the question is, who's going to replace the sheriff who currently is sitting in jail, by the way, awaiting federal charges? Who's going to replace him? The mayor thinks she should. The president of the Board of Aldermen thinks that she should. And the attorney general thinks the governor should. What do you think?
I think this is a terrible answer because my job is to be a journalist who covers the city of St. Louis. I don't even care. This is like equivalent to some mid-level bureaucrat whose job is to get people like delivered from the jail to the court. Yes, that is a good job. We want a competent person doing it. I'm glad Alfred Montgomery, who way over exceeded what his powers were, is out. I think Omer made the right call. But like, am I supposed to get all riled up about whether the mayor or the board of aldermen or even the state gets to pick this? Like, of course, I don't think the state should be meddling more than they do. But the idea that the mayor and the board of aldermen are fighting about this, people are sending me 7-page timelines trying to explain how they're right about this. And again, I'm like, this should not even be an elected office. This is not a job you have a philosophy for. This is just something that someone should get done.
I think it should be the mayor. I think she has the most at stake, and I'm tired of the interference on the part of the state. And I certainly don't think Megan Green should do it. So,
Well, first of all, I'm disappointed because I was going to apply to be the interim sheriff. It seemed like you didn't need anything other than to fill out an application. I'm very disappointed that thing is now on hold. I'll say this about the judge. 95% of that stuff, and I don't know if we call it an indictment from the state or whatever.
Quo warranto.
There we go. Okay. threw it out, said that was nonsense. But the two things he said, listen, I'm taking you off your job for two specific things, and that's it. You're basically, I'm firing you. Yeah. And I thought the judge handled that well. Didn't go into a lot, just like, hey, man, these two things right here were enough that you shouldn't have the job. Yeah. The city, in some fashion, should appoint the new sheriff just because the city should be running their own business. I can't rule out the Board of Aldermen. I don't know why there's this. I don't know why the Board of Aldermen and the mayor can't get along on this and say, like, hey, together we're going to appoint a sheriff. Why we can't do that?
Well, the new acting sheriff, John Hayden, the former police chief, smart guy, mathematics at Washington University. I don't know why they just don't let him just continue.
Well, that's what the mayor wants. And part of what makes me so throwing my hands up about this is we are going to have an election to replace this guy. It's a question of like, is it 4 months or 5 months? And so let's all hire lawyers and they can face off.
I have no problem. I have no problem with the governor doing it. I mean, the governors of this state have given us Gabe Gore, the circuit attorney in the city, and Melissa Price Smith, the prosecuting attorney in the county. I think they're both good calls, better choices than what I think the voters sometimes make.
It's right. And also the Board of Police Commissioners.
And so far, homicides are down.
Well, that was going on for many years.
That's a national trend, Charlie, and has been for 2 years. A record decrease nationally last year.
But you are right, and your native Chicago had the lowest homicide rate in 60 years last year. So St. Louis had 139 homicides, which is way down from 270 in 2020. So that's good. But hey,
it's a national thing, and
but this
no
board
one can
is
really
there.
explain it. But we can give
the board
credit
also
to
didn't come on.
Whoever you
they
want.
had like 3 months of functioning. I mean, we cannot credit this to the state.
All right, okay, perhaps you're making a good point. I'll give you one. Whoa. As we move on to
so nice.
Wendy.
Write this in your diary.
Matt Thornhill was a judge in the 11th Circuit, the Judicial Circuit, Wendy, and he was an Elvis impersonator. He dressed like Elvis. During the swearing in of witnesses, he would play Elvis music and ask them what kind. When he walked out, he'd play Elvis music. Around Halloween, he would dress like like Elvis. But that's not why he was thrown out by the Missouri Supreme Court. In this guy's case, they said that basically he talked too much politics from the bench. He was asking litigants, have you seen the Thornhill for Judge signs? Do you know that you live in Judge Thornhill country? Is your union going to support me? So the Missouri Supreme Court unanimously threw him out. Do you think there's something wrong with our region that we have so many clowns in positions of power?
You have been saying this for 35 years. I mean, do you know that? You have been saying this for 35 years, and I understand there's a whole lot of proof. But no, it's not just this particular region. There is a judge in Florida that brings her dog and makes blood donation part of the, restitution situation. There are judges all over the place doing very eccentric, strange things. I think that we like to believe, a lot of us who are not as knowledgeable perhaps as we should be from our civics courses in high school about the legal profession, but it's not an episode of Law and Order. These things, he's been on the radar for a very, very long time. And obviously, they're going to follow the letter of the law. I think that the disciplinary committees, I think they have done their job. He is no longer sitting on the bench.
Oh, but the disciplinary committee gave him the most unusual sentence. This is the commission on justice and correction or something.
Right.
And they said, you'll be off the bench for 6 months, then you come back for 18 months, then you resign.
Well, they were just trying to give him his pension.
Right.
And lawyers helping lawyers.
That's
Charlie.
right. That is nothing. Nothing
don't
new.
Be shocked.
That was Judge Gary Gardner on that commission, and a guy by the name of Eddie Justice, who was an insurance guy out of Poplar Bluff.
And let's not forget that people elected.
Yeah, he was elected.
This is St. Charles.
That's side of the entire
That's
table.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
And in 2006, he was a prosecutor in St. Charles County, and he offered a defendant
a
some
baseball
deal. He said he
could get an autograph.
She was related to Terry Bradshaw, so he said, "Can you get this signed by Terry Bradshaw.
Because he's such a famous baseball player.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean,
and then he gets elected for 25 years.
That's up to the people. That's up to the
That's what I'm
people who
saying.
elected him.
None of us have time to pay attention to who's on the judge ballot, and that's why the Missouri plan is such a good thing in our bigger cities, that we have like these august elders who figure this out for us. St. Charles County needs that. They've grown big enough. They should be added under it, but it's never going to happen because you have people in both parties who want to keep this elected so they can control it. The bigger thing, the reason that nobody took this guy down years ago when maybe they could have made a run at him, I think what's going on nationally in the country right now, you see why we need an independent judiciary. You can't just have the executive branch just going around removing people willy-nilly. No matter if people are clowns, you just can't, because somebody has to be able to be independent and not to worry that somebody like Donald Trump or Mike Keogh or the Supreme Court is just going to bounce them if there's something that they don't
But
like.
he's
Well,
not
okay,
the
but I
only
will say,
eccentric.
kind of like the sheriff.
Yeah.
What the Supreme Court did was say, like, all this Elvis foolishness. Yeah, you got to go. Here's the specific reason why you're leaving. But I'm kind of with Charlie. I think something is in the water around here, that we do have a little. I think our percentage of just nuttiness is a little higher.
That's because we live here.
Okay, all right.
Other areas have their own.
Florida man is famous.
my
It's up there.
Florida
But we
man
did
did
lose
this.
Eric Greitens, Steve Stenger, Kim Gardner, Lou Reid, and 3 other members of the Board of Aldermen. We're not batting that well lately.
Our last 12 years have been rough. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah.
Bill, what do you think about the new majority owner of Lee Enterprises? His name is David Hoffman. He's a billionaire who also owns Oberweis Dairy and apparently the Pittsburgh Penguins. He lives in an $85 million home in Naples, Florida. He's the guy who developed Winnetka, Illinois and Beaver Creek, Colorado, and he was trying to do that in Augusta. That hasn't happened. So now with $35 million, he's been able to buy a majority stake in Lee Enterprises and its 71 newspapers, including the Post-Dispatch.
Well, I admire this man immensely. I am rooting, of course,
Obviously.
for the new owner to do great and bring the newspaper back and everything. But I worry this, the Augusta plan, I remember when he unveiled that, and there was a 12-hole golf course. And I thought to myself, you don't do that. I mean, it's either a 9-hole golf course or an 18-hole golf course. Now, this could be, the wisdom of, he could be the man who thinks of things that never were and wonders why not. And I'm still, the conventional thinker, but I wouldn't invest in a 12-hole golf course. So I worry about Mr. Hoffman, and he bought Oberweis Dairy, and I think their eggnog is the best. So I'm hoping for good things, but I'm still a skeptic.
I think you can't argue that the people at Lee Enterprises have been great stewards who have run this thing in a dynamic way and really moved this paper into the 21st century. So I think change could be really good here. I am a little nervous because all the other papers that he owns are so much smaller than the Post-Dispatch. And so I don't think he has any idea what he's getting into. If you listen to how he and his top media guy talk about the publications they own, these are not really innovative ideas or things the Post-Dispatch is not already doing. Like, he loves paywalls. He's looking to get rid of expensive headquarters. Like, these are not going to be game changers here. Yeah, get rid of too many copy machines.
And I just trying to watch the number of copy machines at a major daily newspaper is like, bailing water out of the Titanic with a teaspoon. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. He is clear. It's got to be great and such fun to be a billionaire, because these are clearly passion projects that he has. He feels very strongly about it. And I'm like you. The Post-Dispatch is too important to have anything awful happen to it. So we are rooting for him.
Yeah, exactly. And Sarah, you know the gentleman's name. I always forget it, but he has a
Payson Gaddis.
All right, and he's a Gannett person, trained in that way. I think Gannett does well with papers. They don't get into losing money in Gannett, and I think that they'll look at it, and I think the Post-Dispatch would have been better off if Gannett bought it instead of Lee Enterprises. So I give it hope there. If Mr. Hoffman called me tomorrow and said, like, Alvin, you can have an executive position with the Post-Dispatch or the Pittsburgh Penguins, I'd say, Pittsburgh, huh?
What a lovely town.
I'm pulling for him too. I hope it works out. I do.
Well, and
It's funny you mention-
the Post-Gazette just went up.
Yeah.
They announced that they are closing, so maybe Mr. Hoffman would like to add that to the family
Oh,
tree.
there, I could work for the Penguins.
never know.
And the paper.
Yeah.
I could cover the Penguins.
Well,
You're staying here.
this guy, he has to be pretty smart. He started with nothing. I mean, he was, his dad was a milkman, his mom was a waitress, and he became a billionaire. So it's easy for us and me to sit here and make fun of his 12-hole golf course, but maybe he's smarter than we give him credit for.
Well, he's worth $1.7 billion, and he's got 120 businesses and 22,000 employees.
And I'm imagining his own airplane, so yeah, he's doing better than we are.
Sarah, speaking of employment, I want to ask about Chief Robert Tracy, the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. We knew that his new contract allowed him to moonlight, to work a second shift, and he's going to work for UMSL, the University of Missouri St. Louis. And they have a criminology department. The pair might make sense. At the same time, I think it was Austin Hughlett of the Post-Dispatch who broke the story today that the St. Louis Police Officers Union, in some legislation that apparently nobody read last spring, got lifetime medical benefits.
Yeah.
And the city's going to pay for it. It was mandated by the state. And so now if you're a St. Louis police officer, guess what? You retire after 20 years and the city will pay your health insurance for the rest of your life.
Yeah, this is going to be great for the taxpayers of the city of St. Louis. I mean, this is something that no other big city departments in Missouri, at least, or that Austin Hughlett could find are doing. I think this is a huge problem. And when you talk about the bill that this was in that no one read, this was the hotly debated bill that removed local control of the St. Louis Police Department and gave it to the state of Missouri. This bill had all these things just tucked in here that were little gifts to the police department. And I heard everybody say, oh, we just need some level-headed people to run the police department. That's not what that bill was about. That bill was about giving the police union everything it wanted and hosing the taxpayers and giving them no say in the fact they were being hosed.
I second that emotion, and I don't like it either. This is the gift that will keep on giving now for a lifetime.
Okay, now, everybody's always talking about we need more policemen and policemen need to be paid higher. And so first going to Chief Tracy, admittedly, I liked it when it was a military thing. The patrolmen made this, the sergeants made this, the lieutenants made this, and the colonels, and then the chief. The idea that the chief has to be up here, I'm leery about that. But as far as giving people these health care premiums, and then when they get on Medicare, buying the supplement for them, you're trying to retain cops and trying to get them to want to work in the city when they can make more money in a more pleasant, safer environment in the suburbs. This is a way of giving them more money.
You've got to be creative. But I'm trying to figure out what is going on, because leadership positions, elected or otherwise, it's almost now we've got a NASCAR situation, okay? Chief Tracy, brought to you by the University of Missouri St. Louis. Right. Sam Page, outgoing county executive, brought to you by Western Anesthesiology and Associates.
Good point.
What is happening? It used to be you would have a salary offered. You either accepted it or you rejected it. You moved on or you stayed. What in the world is happening?
Well,
and if they can get that creative with salaries, they should be able to get that creative with other parts of the government that are underwater.
The city's being too cheap with the police officers. For example, the police chief for St. Charles City makes more than the police chief of St. Louis City, and that's not good. They should up his salary, because there are many employees in the school department who make more than his $183,000.
I think people would absolutely be willing to up his salary. The problem is, in classic St. Louis fashion, it's so Byzantine that if you up his salary, you have to bring the fire chief's salary to the exact same level.
That's
so
crazy.
Suddenly you're talking about a bunch more money. I love Chief Jenkerson. He doesn't need an extra $100K. That's why they brought in this nonprofit to do it. The nonprofit, apparently the union got to them, told them not to do it, had to find somebody else, pass it through UMSL. You're right, it's crazy.
Well, as for the police officers, they aren't being paid enough. They start at 57.
Definitely
and
not.
in Arnold, you start at 75, 76. Arnold, Missouri.
They have been raising it.
And trying to retain officers is hard. I mean, people can move.
Well, we had 1,300. We're down to 800.
Right.
Full force is 1,200. Right?
And besides, when we had 1,300, they had this health care for life thing too.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
This isn't something that was new and dreamed up.
That's right.
Having said that, that is a ridiculous benefit, health care for life.
I mean,
It
Thank
just,
you, Charlie.
It's
Once
unheard
again,
of.
we agree.
44-year-old guy comes back to play quarterback for the Colts, and everybody was thinking, the best thing about that deal for Phillip Rivers is he's got 10 kids, but he gets 5 additional years of health care. So even like the National Football League, who y'all dogging out a second ago, said no, we ain't got no lifetime health care. No, let's be serious.
What did your late great father say?
Don't begrudge anybody's salary.
Yeah, the Post-Dispatch employees at one time had lifetime health care.
Wow.
Well, apparently the CEO
a
of
long time
Spire
ago,
has
but-
it.
And that and other things.
And
And
Oh,
other,
my God.
$20 million. How
a
much?
lot of other zeros.
Yeah, a lot of other
Yeah.
zeros.
Wait, he got 1 year on the job, he got $5.6 million.
And left under,
But you know what? With what the police
circumstances.
officers are asked to do, I have very little problem.
But Wendy, you got to
Okay.
draw a line someplace. Now, I mean, you
All
just
right.
can't. The state's just going to give them any and everything they want. That's a bad
Apparently.
deal.
Wait till the next legislative session, which started yesterday. Hey, you can write us and share your opinions. I hope you do in 2026. Write care of 9PBS 63108. We love those emails, Donnybrook at 9pbs.org. It helps us if you tell us where you're from, like county, for example. And you can also, on social media, use hashtag DonnybrookSTL. We also would like to hear from you. You can call 314-512-9094. And wherever you are, listen to us on your favorite podcast source. Do you know that we have a YouTube show on it's the 9PBS YouTube channel. We call it Last Call. And we're going to talk this week about Josh Hawley getting slammed by President Trump and why Bill McClellan attended the wedding of a fella who has decided to run for office. And so we'll share that as a cliffhanger, and you can join us and learn more about that on what we call Last Call. Thank you so much, and thanks for supporting us for the last 39 years. Now we're in our 40th year here at Donnybrook, and thanks to the great cast for making this possible every week, including our esteemed director, Anne-Marie Berger. See you next week at this time.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.